complete Hinson clutch basket replacement for your YZ250. I'm going to use a BRC Racing YZM500 engine, but it's the same thing. First thing, you need to drain your transmission oil. We're not going to show that as that's pretty straightforward. Now I've removed my pipe, mostly for ease of filming and for the cable install on the other side. If you have a YZ250, you're not going to have to remove your pipe. But in this case, it being a 500, the pipe is in the way. You also don't need to remove your brake pedal. If you come in with a slot screwdriver and pry your brake pads apart, you can leave your brake pedal installed. And if you don't run these covers, you can push your brake pedal down, slide a screwdriver in, and it will hold your brake pedal down out of the way. I have these covers on, so I have to just remove the pedal for ease of filming. Okay, next up, we're going to remove our springs, all 6, so that we can disassemble our clutch pack. I like to loosen them in a crisscross pattern to not overload any particular one of the posts. Next, we can reach in here and slide out our clutch back. Now, if your clutch is really burnt, you're going to know really quick because it's going to smell really bad. Go in here and slide these last couple plates out. There we have it. This clutch wasn't slipping too bad. It's just after it got hot, after 3/4 of a moto, it would start to give up. It's time for a new one. Also, clutch basket's very notched, and I'll show you what that looks like once I get it out. So next, push that pusher rod back in. We can go and bend our lock tabs open so we can get this primary nut off. So screwdriver, chisel, something appropriate to hit with a hammer. And get this guy opened up. This clutch holding tool from ProMotion is going to be your friend. Without it, this job is quite hard to do. We'll go ahead and clamp onto our inner hub here and loosen our nut off. You can do this by hand, but an impact makes it much easier to get it off. Put our lock tab away. We're going to throw this one away as we have a new one. Pull our inner hub off. You don't want to lose this thrust washer on the back. We can come in and pull our clutch basket out. With our stock clutch basket removed, we can go through and see the real reason why we're replacing this clutch. Yes, it's slipping, but that just happens. These notches here, these little grooves, cause your clutch to hang up. You pull the clutch in, it doesn't want to release. It's extra noisy. It's a pretty common problem, especially older bikes, is notched clutch basket. Yes, you can file them down, but if you get them uneven, you'll overload one finger and they break off. So when compared to our new Hinson clutch, see, everything's nice and smooth. It's brand new, obviously. We're going to have a lot nicer clutch feel than this old rattle trap of a clutch. So we do need to pull this gear off, mount it to this. That in a minute. Another common wear problem is your inner basket also gets notched. So you can see all these marks in here. Which is this guy. Just hard anodized aluminum. It's going to last a lot longer. Give us a wicked clutch probably for the rest of the life of this bike. So these are easy to swap. Just in and out. But this main basket, we need to go ahead and get these rivets off. Before we go ahead and take the gear off, let's go through. We got our clutch basket, our main basket. We got the inner hub, new and old. We got the pressure plate, new and old. Yeah, this one had like 1 hour or something on it, but it's brand new. Our old plates, and then our new plates soaking in oil. Complete Hinson kit, and at the end of the video, we're gonna go ahead and put a hydraulic clutch on this thing. So, and of course, you can't put a Hinson clutch in without putting a Hinson basket on, so the world knows what you got. Now this install video is for a Hinson clutch, but if you're putting a YSCO or a Pro X or any other manufacturer's clutch in there, it'll also work. There's only 3 real ways to get these rivets off. We can drill them by hand, we can drill them with a drill press, or we can grind them off. So we're going to probably do all 3. First, we're going to start by center punching them. Up first, I'm just going to go at them with the standard cordless drill. That kind of made a mess. Let's hit the drill press. Still wants to walk off sideways. Nope. My choice is going to be grinding. Just be careful not to hit the teeth of your gear when you're doing it. And it does help if you were to pre-drill a little bit. It saves a bit of grinding, but for me, I'll just grind them off. Now we can go ahead, pop this guy off. here we have the inside of the clutch basket with our rubber dampeners. Go ahead and lift our gear off, set it aside, grab our Hinson, pull these bolts out. And then we can see we can just swap our rubber bumpers over. Reinstall our drive gear and our new backing plate. As per Hinson's instructions, we're going to use a generous amount of red Loctite, so we do not ever want these guys to come back out. Snug down, go ahead and torque them to 40 inch-pounds. And then lastly, to ensure that they never come out, we're going to put a pin in them for a mechanical lock. Here's our full parts layout. We got our basket with our gear installed, thrust washer that go between these two parts, our new inner hub, new lock tab. You want to use a new lock tab. If your lock tab's been bent a couple times, these guys break off and make a mess inside your transmission. So new lock tab, nut, steel plates, our oil-soaked fibers, pressure plate, new springs, bolts, and of course the cover. Can't have a build without some sweet stickers. Before we install, make sure our push rod is in. We didn't take it out, so it should stay in. Pull our collar and bearing off. Everything looks great. Just leave those guys right on there. It's time to put our basket in. Up first is our clutch basket. Put a little bit of oil here, but you don't need a whole lot. Go ahead and slide her in. Now, this whole process is the same, basically, whether you got a KX250, RM250, CR250. This is a YZ250 based bike. They're all the same. Even your 4-strokes, your basic motorcycle clutch is the same for every bike. Little differences here and there, but overall speaking, they're all the same. So make sure we got that locked in to the primary drive gear. Get our inner hub, not without our thrust washer. So many people lose this guy or forget it, and then their clutch locks together. So let's go ahead and get our inner hub in. Our new lock tab, and our primary nut. Go ahead and torque this guy down to 55 foot-pounds. If you're working on a different bike, please check it. There's some KTMs and stuff, which is, it all looks the same, but this little nut's like 95 foot-pounds. So on the Yamaha, it's 55, but for your specific bike, look it up. The Motion Pro clutch holding tool. Make sure we get it good and tight, so you don't want it to slip off and break something. A pair of pliers, and we can bend the lock tab down. Before you go ahead and bend that tab down, like I didn't do, make sure this spins free. Now I know I remembered the thrust washer in between, so this wouldn't happen, but now's the time to go back in and check before you bend the lock tab down, making sure you don't have something binding. So when it comes to putting steel plates in, if you ask the internet, there's 100 different ways. There's only really 2 ways. They have a sharp side and a round side from when they get pressed out of the steel plate that they're made from. I prefer to put one in one way and one in the other way. First goes a fiber plate and then a steel plate. So I'm going to start with the sharp side in, and then I'm just going to alternate. Go sharp side in, and then we put a fiber, and then we're going to go sharp side out, just this side. Then we're going to put a fiber, and so on and so forth until we get all these steel plates in. One other thing worth mentioning is I like to brake clean these guys off because they come with like some sort of packing oil. Keep them from corroding or rusting while they're in shipment and stuff. So I give them a quick blast off with brake clean and throw them in. Up next, we have our pressure plate, making sure we have this little bearing spinny doohad on there. So it actually pushes on your pressure plate to open your clutch. key on like so. Go ahead and install our springs. Since springs are quite stiff, if you find they're too stiff and you're not slipping your clutch a lot, you could alternate 50-50 with stock springs, or even go down to stock springs if you wanted to. That's personal preference. We're going full Hinson on the 500. Hinson springs and everything. So I want to know how tough these bad boys actually are. These guys having a Phillips head in, I like to start them with a Phillips screwdriver. If you use a socket, they can wobble around a little bit, I find, when you're pushing on the washer, and you run the risk of cross-threading the bolts. So just to get them started, I'll run them in with my number 3 Phillips. And we can run them down with the impact, and then finally torque them to spec. With my torque wrench set at 55 foot-pounds, oh, get up on a compression stroke here, and go ahead and torque these guys down. You really do not want to over-tighten these. They're very weak and they break off. Okay, we've got the internals of this Hinson clutch wrapped up. We can go ahead and put our sweet cover on so the world knows what we're running. And then we can get on to the last part. Putting a Magura hydraulic clutch kit on this thing so you can actually pull it in like a KTM. First, finish up this cover. Torque these bolts down to, I believe, 80 inch-pounds. Again, different bike. Check your manufacturer's spec, but you don't really need a torque wrench on these guys. Just snug them down. Oh. How much difference can a hydraulic clutch make? I'm going to try and find out. So I got my digital scale hooked onto my lever, taking the grip off so there's less resistance because the grip was quite fat and it was causing it to pull in. So it's about as good as I can get. This is with the full Hinson clutch in. But what clutch you have doesn't really matter. It's more of a how much easier does a hydraulic clutch make it. So the best I can get on this, that's when the clutch moves, is around 35-ish, I'm guessing. He's 41, but that's where it bottoms out. So this is right where it starts to move. 34, 35. Yeah, 38. Okay, if you're working on a YZ250, this is your left engine case cover. Clutch cable comes down through this hole and hooks onto the arm right here. You'll only have to remove this plastic cover, usually held on by shitty Phillips screws that some dude stripped years ago. But pull this cover off, it'll do your cable all the same as I'm about to do, except mine is a little bit different. So I wonder if the KTM Magura clutch levers are the same. If anyone knows and would like to let me know, feel free to drop me a comment down below, and if you've had good luck finding aftermarket levers for the Magura conversion kits. So I've always liked to wrap my bar with some Teflon tape wherever my perch is going to mount. This way it reduces the friction between the clamp and the bar, which is aluminum on aluminum. It likes to bind very easily. And you can tighten your bolt and your clamp up and you won't break your lever off, or you run less of a risk of breaking things when you fall because of this low friction. Give it a place to pivot. Okay, our perch installed. We just followed the stock routing down through the clamp, down on top of the radiator, down inside this rad hose, which you wouldn't have if you had a 250, and down to where we need to be. This is super easy. If you can change a clutch cable, you can install one of these. There's really nothing to it. Now I had to remove my pipe. If you have a YZ250, I don't believe you have to. You can just get this cover off, but my pipe wraps around up to here, so it needed to go. Install the master cylinder into the case. This is the trickiest part, as we need to hook this guy onto here, in behind this cover. Again, YZ250, you're going to be on the outside. This is all super easy, so I'm not going to talk too much about this on this particular bike. We just reach in behind very gently. So on this side, we can see I've kind of got the cover hanging down, but I've been able to hook the pull rod on, bend the tab back over, and now it can't fall off, and now I'm able to just put my clutch cover back on. With our new hydraulic clutch cable installed, go ahead and put our gas tank back on. Also going to go ahead and reinstall my seat. Ready to see, is the hydraulic clutch any easier to pull? So trying to get everything on the same angle here, like this spot. My clutch lever is a little lower. See, we're on 0 with nothing going on. Give her a pull and it starts to actuate about there. So yeah, I haven't seen it spike over 30, and we were running 30, 32, 35 before. It's right on that clutch actuation. And I'm seeing like 20s, 28 when it bottoms out or something, but a low 20, 10 foot-pounds easier to pull the clutch. Okay, this hydraulic clutch is night and day difference. 10-pound lighter pull is going to make long motos and stuff that much sweeter. So if you had any doubts on getting one of these for a YZ250, or if you're running the BRC Racing YZM500, I definitely pick one of these guys up.